Hey y'all, real quick, real talk. I think it was a Dr. Gabor, Gabor. You can look it up. Dr. Gabor, who said, if you do not know how to say no, your body will say it for you in the form of illness. Okay? If you do not know how to say no, your body will say it for you in the form of illness. And I can attest to that. When I was in college, still very young, right? For all intents and purposes, I was thriving. I was an athlete. I looked great. Most of the time I felt great. But when I was up, I was up. And when I was down, I was down. And I was down a lot. Every time I turned around, sinus infection, bad cold, stomach virus, something. And it got to the point, I guess it was so noticeable to those who were close to me. A good friend of mine pulled me aside in church and was like, yo, you got AIDS? And I was offended at that. Like, why would you say that? And he was kind of joking, but he kind of wasn't, because it was like, yo, you always sick. So I kind of just brushed him off and went on about my life. As my life at the time would have it, I got a really, really bad sinus infection. I think it was a sinus infection. It was so bad I had to go to the ER. And I remember at the time, I don't think I had insurance through my job. I sat in the ER for hours. They gave me a pill. And I remember it being like an $800 bill. And this was like back in the day, right? So I take the little pill, I go home, and I'm lying in bed, just miserable. Like, what is happening? What's going on in my life? And I was just laying there, and I swear to goodness, as sure and as certain as you can hear my voice right now, I heard a voice saying, you need to start saying no. You need to start saying no. And I can't remember if it was my voice. It was nothing foreign. It was more, I guess, like I just heard it in my head. You need to start saying no. And I had never correlated those things together, saying yes or not being able to say no, rather. I had never paired that up with me being ill all the time. And I don't know the science behind it. But I do know that I took that to heart. I had enough wisdom then in my young age to take that to heart and start saying no. And I don't know when, but it wasn't long after that I started noticing a difference. So it wasn't necessarily even that I was saying so yes and doing things for people and running around that made me tired, because I still did a lot of running around for myself, but I stopped getting sick as much. Now I hardly ever get sick. Maybe I'll do a part 2, because I'm going to look into that and see how not being able to say no correlates with us, our actual physical being. And I'll do a part 2 to that. But if you're always down physically and you don't know why, take a look at your everyday habits. Take a look and see if you're pouring into yourself, right? Take a look and see if you are see if you are neglecting yourself because you are always pouring into others. Maybe you don't need that Tylenol after all. Maybe you just need to say no.